Love for Rent is the third studio album from Smino. He is an artist, as a singer, songwriter, rapper who has been on the scene for quite a few years now. I enjoyed the Black Swan album, the first one I think that was. I thought it was good. I thought it was pretty good. I like his style. I like what he brings to the table. It feels like he's offering something quite different to a lot of his peers, to be honest. There is a kind of like jid sensibility to the way he kind of like mumbles and jumbles around with his rapping and stuff like that. But he also has a really fresh take on the style and goes for more of like a vibey sound, which I really, really enjoy. And I thought from that debut, there was definitely potential for this guy to be pretty damn good. And it seems as though Love for Rent is the album that proves that, because I think this is his best album to date. And adding to that already glowing praise of saying it's his best album to date, I think this is one of the best albums I've heard this year. Yes, I'm going to say it. I'm going to go that far. I think this album provides a lovely, lovely energy. It is joyous and it is also warm in the way it's presented. It's inviting. It offers a lot in the way of the sort of, I guess, the flows and the cadences that Smino brings to the table. You can't necessarily always fully make out what he's saying because of the way he sort of flows and mumbles, but he has provided such a nice, unique tone that I don't think many others in this lane or in the rap genre at the moment are really bringing to the table. From the get-go on No L's, you have the fantastic monikers Knock Knock being sampled, which is a great use of the instrumental, by the way, and it has been used before in A$AP Rocky and Tyler Creator's Potato Salad. I feel like it's one of those samples where you just can't lose. It sounds that good on the original song that I think if you just use that elsewhere, you know, you've already got the foundations of a great track, and this right here is proving that, because his slacker delivery fits over really nicely over this instrumental. And then you've got like the sort of like Money Trees flow on the hook by Kendrick Lamar. It's not exactly the same, but I feel like there are parts of it that sound a little bit similar to the hook of Money Trees by Kendrick. And honestly, you could say that for a lot of these tracks on this album. Like, there are times where his cadence particularly and his kind of like mimicky voices that he does really do sound quite like Kendrick Lamar. It's no slight, it's no attack, it's no harsh criticism on Smino himself to say that he might sound like other artists at times, because I think that's a pretty common thing throughout this album. I feel as though he has his influence pretty nicely written on his sleeves, but he never feels like he's just copying anyone else. Like I say, this album has a really cool vibey tone to it that I feel not many artists that he might sound similar to could even pull off. There's just that kind of like nice laid back feel to some of these tracks, like 90 Proof as well. The really lovely sort of tone that this track brings, the summariness to it as well, but also the beat sounds great. And then you got J. Cole coming through. I saw a bit of a mixed response to this track when it came out, but I think this sounds really good, and I think J. Cole is sounding really fresh on this one. Those bouncy beats really continue to take over this album though. You've got Pro Freak, which has Doechii on it, which is great to hear Doechii come through with a really cool feature. Doechii's been a really good artist over the past year or so, breaking bigger than she was before, and it's great to hear her pull off a really good verse on this one. But again, the drive to the beat is what carries these kinds of tracks, and there's so many other tracks as well where the drums particularly sound fantastic. Pudgy is another one later on in the album, again with the drums. You got Lil Uzi Vert coming through nicely on the track as well, a really cool feature there. Generally across the board, the features on this album are really, really good. Like, there aren't really many misses, which is a great thing to say about an album that has a lot of features, because usually that's where you could kind of go, that person didn't really come through with a great verse or whatever. That isn't the case on this album. They all add to the vibe of the tracks that they're on, and they all add to the sort of atmospheric world that this album's trying to create, and it all really works. He picked his features perfectly, and Lil Uzi Vert, who I'm usually not a fan of, to be honest, and J. Cole I'm not usually a fan of either, both are incorporated in their respective tracks so well. There's a quirky sensibility to the track Ol' Ass Kendrick, which I really like. It sounds a bit strange, this track, honestly, and the way he's rapping over it. all very elusive and odd, but I think it works, and it kind of provides something a little bit different compared to what some of the other tracks provide, to be fair. And then you got Euphoria, which again is one of those other tracks that's very spaced out and mellow. It's not a standout in the way that it sounds, but I think it fits the tone of what this album's trying to provide, because I feel like tracks like this don't quite have the same fun sensibility to Smino's voice or his delivery like other tracks do, but they still fit what he's going for across this album. Matinee, again, the easy breezy feeling to this track honestly reminds me of the album from last year from Topaz Jones, which I thought was really good and pretty underrated, to be fair. Both artists, I just feel like, are just here to have fun and show you how much fun they're having with their delivery, with how kind of carefree their attitude is towards the tracks and how the beats sound. It's a really nice mix of styles and blends, to be honest. There's a soulful energy to it, but also there's a bit of a nice pop sensibility coming through as well. Defibrillator for me is one of the best tracks. This has the most Saba energy to it, honestly. Like, Saba has this sort of uplifting spirit to his nature, you know, with the way he delivers his tracks. And I feel like this track is very much in that same vein, honestly. And to be quite honest, some of the lyrics are not matching that energy at all. Like, even though it sounds like that, there's actually some pretty depressing lines coming through. I'll be loved when no one's around. Like, damn, when he keeps saying that, it sounds so good and it sounds so, again, like, uplifting the way he's saying it. But goddamn, those lyrics are pretty depressing when you kind of pick them apart and think about what he's saying and how he keeps saying it over and over again. I wouldn't necessarily say there's a great amount of detail to unpack in regards to lyrics on this album. I feel like the feeling that it gives you with Smino's delivery across this thing is more than enough to carry the album and not necessarily feel like you're having to decipher or unpack loads of details within the lyrics. I just think it's one of those albums, to be honest, because I'm not going to come out here and say that he's up there with the greatest pen writers in the history of the genre. He ain't anything like that. But the fact that there's so many tracks on this album that are as fun and as bouncy as Settle Down, for example, that's where he's separating himself from other artists, because he's just bringing a great, you know, use of drums and use of driving sort of beats and things that really carry the songs and make them so good to listen to. This track particularly has a Raven Lenae feature, who fantastically again is incorporated into the song. The song generally and this feature captures such a nice feeling, a nice warm feeling that I get from this album, honestly. And sort of like the instrumental on the beat reminds me of some like Tyler creative stuff, maybe from Flower Boy or something like that. Tyler actually gets referenced on one of the tracks on this album too. So again, his influences are there, but it doesn't hold back any of the album's tracks at all. And to be honest, Settle Down might even be the best song, so to compare it to something else is no slight. Yeah, this is going to be a really replayable album for me, I think. Just one of those that you can just really turn off your mind and just enjoy what's going on. Not have a great amount to think about. Have some really fun moments as well, some vibey moments too. And it just really provides a nice listen. I just have a really good time with this. I keep going back to it and I keep enjoying so much about it each time. It's hard to put into words what he's trying to like capture, because I feel like he's trying to be fun and upbeat but also laid back and really soft and vibey as well. And I think honestly an amalgamation of all those things comes together really well. And as Mr. Buffalo Staples himself has already said, I haven't watched the video yet, but I've seen the title of the video. It's a bloody cute album as well. Like, his delivery at times, he's sounding really boyish, he's sounding really carefree and just free-spirited the whole time. And it's just kind of cute to hear it, honestly. I really feel like that is a good word to describe what Smino has given us on his best album to date. Easily his best album to date. I'm gonna go 8 out of 10. One of my favorites of the year. This is an easy 8 for me. A really replayable album. To be honest, the fact that it could be an album that I go back to so much could even increase the score, because sometimes that just is how you end up feeling towards an album if you just keep playing it so much. And it's just one of those that you can't stop playing or you can't put down, and that can just in itself make the score higher. It might not necessarily be better than other albums, to be honest, but music is about the feeling it gives you, and I think this is a really, really positive, uplifting album that gives me a great feeling. That's going to put it high on my year-end list for sure. I'm super impressed with Smino. I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I wasn't even anticipating this album, honestly. I wasn't even like expecting a great album at all. I was just going to check it out just on a whim, see what it was like, and there you go. It's one of my favorites of the year, so there you go figure, I guess. Thank you for watching as always. Do please subscribe if you haven't already. Do also tell me what you think in the comments. Tell me what I should also be looking at and reviewing. Have a good day. Please check out my Patreon, that would be fantastic. More videos on the way, more fun lists on the way too. Have a good day and goodbye.